Hey man, welcome back to Street Scores. It's your boy Rico giving y'all a special edition of Redskins Report. I'm here to talk about Josh Norman's recent comment, and I want to get some opinions from any viewers and Street Scores family. But first I want to start off with some random news. Rookie tackle Geron Christian is out for a year with a torn MCL. After this, Deron Payne, Tim Settle, Sean Hamilton, and Greg Stroman are our only draft picks left. That's crazy. Tim Settle doesn't play much. Sean Hamilton only plays special teams, even though he did force a big fumble. But at least Trey Quinn just got brought back off the IR. Also, in really random news, Zach Brown got on Twitter and took aim at some Washington Redskins coaches. He said, shaking my head, people nowadays, own coaches hating and blaming me for ATL loss. Shaking my head, nah B, check the film before blaming someone. Eye in the sky, don't lie. And this is a really weird situation, because it's not often that a player, especially of a winning team that's 6-3, 5-3 at the time when he tweeted this, to go at coaches through Twitter. He deleted the comments recently, and there seems to be not much about it. Jay Gruden addressed it and said nobody's pointing fingers, so it seems to be good. But comment on that, I'll get in them comments and reply back to that. But now for the main story, Josh Norman. Josh Norman, after the win against the Buccaneers, post-game said, I feel like we play better on the road. I'm not gonna lie. Gosh, man, it just seems like the true fans, they really be with us on the road. We feed off that. We go into the home stands and it's like an open bubble, like the other team's turf or something. You hear more of them than you do us. Then if something bad happens, they suck. They sit back in their seat and they boo. I don't know, this year I'm starting to see that. Josh Norman also said, it's kind of crazy because the first couple of years I've been here, you would see sellouts and see people all happy and excited and all for the Redskins. Now you go around to the whole NFC East teams, Philly, the Giants, and even Dallas, they're sold out. People in the seats, they're cheering for their team regardless of good or bad or indifferent. They're still showing up each week and every week and going hard. Even the Giants, when they were 6-1, they had a sellout crowd. They were all in their pack. Still, we come back home, and it seems like guys don't really care. They just boo everything and aren't really behind us. We just don't feel that support, and I'm tired of it, really. We can play all our games on the road if you ask me. And this is interesting, though, because DJ Swearinger went on to back up Josh Norman this morning on a radio show where he said, I would rather play on the road, too, because you can hear on the road. You can hear communications. You don't have to worry about fans booing you. You ain't got to worry about seeing the other team's jerseys everywhere. You know, it's going to be the other team's jerseys because you're away. Home games, that's some of the worst things I've seen. I've played on 4 different teams, never seen it that bad. You know, with other teams' jerseys in the stands, with the boos, whatever it may be. I've never been a part of nothing like that. But then Swearinger thought it out and said, but I guess that'll take time because we haven't won. But you can't really say that because I've been in Houston and Arizona where they haven't won. But those diehard fans will go out, win, lose, or draw. So that's no excuse of losing. Every NFL team loses. No NFL team wins the Super Bowl every year. And even Chris Thompson came in to contribute some insight. Chris Thompson said, it's just one of those things you have to sit down and see what Norman is really saying. If you can understand what he's saying, he's not, again, just like me, not bashing the fans. We want everybody to come out and support us. That's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, we want our stands to be full of us. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I get his fans is frustrating. And later on today, Josh Norman tweeted, 6-3, first in NFC East. First time in a long time that in itself should be applauded. He says it with an emoji though. We worked on our craft to get here. Now it's you guys' turn. FedEx Field is a place where visitors should fear, not because of us, but because of how terrifyingly loud and menacing you guys, the fans, are. Come on. HTTR. So in Rico of Street Score's opinion, I feel like what Josh Norman said last night, yesterday after the game, post-game in the locker room, was more of an emotional response. Because you can see in his tweet from this morning that he kind of took a step back, and instead of bashing the fans, he was trying to hype them up and let them know that he's here for them. He just wants them to be here for him also. And the DJ Swearinger take on it is interesting because he's more so saying he prefers to play on the road because when you're at home, the crowd normally is quiet for the offense, which is good for Alex Smith in the game. But for the defense, the crowd is very loud because they're trying to disrupt the opposing team offense's play calling, snap count, all of that stuff. They want them to be disrupted. And DJ Swearinger is pointing out that the defense suffers at the same time as the opposing team's offense. So when he's on the road, it's quiet and he can communicate with his fellow defensive players in order to make adjustments and call out things that can be game-changing plays. So I see where DJ Swearinger is coming from. But along with Josh Norman, he was also talking about how the home team fans seem to be outnumbered by opposing teams' fans by pointing out the jerseys in the stands and everything, like he said. And you got to look at it from both sides, because on the athlete side, it's not really their fault that they're dealing with the current Redskins fan base. The Redskins have been pretty much a disappointment the past 20 years. They've won on and off, but mostly lost. And so now a lot of these players who are here, that were not here for all of those losing seasons, are having to deal with the repercussions of those losing seasons. And they want the fans to immediately change from being a losing franchise fan base to a winning franchise fan base. And then I also see it from the fans' perspective. Because honestly, especially with me living in Atlanta, and no matter who Atlanta plays in Atlanta, there's going to be at least half of the stadium of the opposing team. But Redskins fans are some of the most diehard fans I've ever seen. We have fans all across, not just America, but the world. I don't know what the Redskins did. I don't know if they had like a global outreach initiative, but they have some of the most international fans I've seen out of any fan base. But sadly, those type of fans are not about to come from Australia to go to every home game. And then that can also be said domestically. A lot of Redskins fans are in different parts of the country, and it's hard for them to make it to every home game. But if the Redskins so happen to play the opposing team, and that opposing team is where that Redskins fan lives, then it's easy for them to make that game, which will make the road crowd infested with more Redskins fans than any other team's road game. And then you also have to look at the management of Dan Snyder and company, and just the situation around the stadium. The traffic is terrible, so a lot of people don't want to go to the games because it's harder to get to Redskins games than most other places just due to the traffic. There's all of this traffic, but no major shops, no restaurants around there. But also the stadium is very old. There's nothing special about the stadium. It's not modern. There haven't been many initiatives to make the stadium experience a great and unique one for fans. So there's a lot of diehard Redskins fans out there, but the stadium experience isn't for everybody. Also, DC is a very transient city. A lot of people in DC are not from DC, Maryland, or Virginia. And even for the fans that are in Maryland, Virginia, DC, the DMV area, with the way this franchise has been managed the past 20 years by Dan Snyder and company, and the drafts and the high hopes but failing seasons, it's kind of easy to see why fans aren't as dedicated to go to the games as other fan bases. And also, a good point towards Josh Norman with the boos that the Redskins hear at home. If they were to simply play better and play more consistent, then they wouldn't hear the boos. 2 of our only 3 losses came at home. And those games, especially the Falcons game, looked out of reach from so early on. So I can see how it's hard for diehard Redskins fans to put their trust in this franchise, even though they are 6-3. Our wins are ugly and our losses are even uglier. But sadly for me, I can't go to the games. I live in Atlanta, don't have enough money to get up to see the games all the time. I'll definitely go when they come to play in Atlanta though. And there's just many circumstances like that. My circumstance and situation is very common amongst Redskins Nation. Hopefully, the Redskins can start to win consistently, win the division, or at least be in the conversation of it. There's been so many off seasons since I've been alive where the Redskins weren't even talked about for winning the division. They were just ignored. They would look at the other 3 teams, maybe 2 of them, and we'd just be the ones that were ignored. Not much media attention outside of the DMV area at all. So it's going to take a while to rebuild home field advantage and for the fans to rebuild trust in the franchise. But if we keep drafting the way we are and developing players like we have done with Matt Ioannidis, and if we can finally get the offense going to complement this turnover heavy bend but don't break defense, then we might have some magic. And I see where Josh Norman, Chris Thompson, and DJ Swearinger are coming from. Would they want more support from the fans? But they gotta see it from the fans' point of view because they've been through a lot. And even though it's not DJ Swearinger and Josh Norman's fault, because they haven't been here very long, so they're not the cause for this lack of trust from Redskins fans, but they do have to understand it's going to take time. But even when the Redskins start winning, the stadium experience just isn't that great compared to a lot of other teams. I know I personally like, the outside feel of a football game, but nothing beats the comfort of going to the Georgia Dome or the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where it's gonna feel nice, 70 degrees, no matter what the weather is outside. If it's 100 degrees or 30 degrees, when you're watching the game, you can wear whatever outfit you want. You don't have to wear gloves when it's cold. You don't have to worry about being hot when it's hot. And when it's a good day outside, they can just simply open the dome to allow it to have more of a natural football feel anyway. So sadly for the Redskins, we do not have this option. And it's kind of sad that this conversation is taking away attention from our very impressive win against the Bucs in Tampa Bay. But I feel like this is something that needs to be discussed, and I wanted to bring this up so I can get the opinions of my Street Scores family in the comment section. I will definitely be in the comments to reply. I'm just very curious as to how everybody stands on this subject, because I normally like to pick sides, but this is one where both sides have very good points, so I'm pretty neutral on this. I can see from both sides, as a fan, which I am, and as a player. I feel like the fans and the players need to be more upset with management than at each other, actually. So at the end of the day, I feel like the best solution is just to keep winning, and for Dan Snyder and company to work on the stadium experience. They might have to move to DC somewhere where at least the outside of stadium experience is better, but that's a long way from now. But that's it for this special episode of Redskins Report. Thanks for the view. I'm going to be bringing y'all a game review for the Buccaneers soon, but for now, get in these comments and let me know how y'all feel about the Josh Norman, DJ Swearinger situation. Also talk about the Zach Brown situation, because that's kind of a weird one that if it were not for Josh Norman, that one would probably be the headline in the news. But definitely get in them comments. Let me know how y'all feel. Are you on the side of the fans? Or are you on the side of Josh Norman, DJ Swearinger, and the players? Or are you mad at management like I am? Hopefully this Alabama presence in the locker room, even with Ryan Anderson, you saw him yesterday going crazy, making plays. Hopefully this Alabama expectation of winning and accepting nothing less of dominance will spread amongst the Redskins, not only just players, but the organization and fan base. And while y'all at it, make sure y'all Dolemite fake punch that like button, favorite, subscribe, I'll subscribe back, and most importantly, comment and share. And again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.